Hare Krishna Maharaj, welcome to the session. I've handed over the session to yourself and I've unmuted you. Hare Krishna.
Tell me again, I couldn't, I missed you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, I've made you the host for the meeting. You can
I'd rather you not make me the host for the meeting, because then I have to control microphones or do any of that other kind of stuff.
Apologies.
If you make me,
I made you spot video. So I'm actually still the host, but I've made you the spot video for the session. So
okay, so we can both do things.
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay, and my instructions. Hello, hello.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
And my instructions.
Maharaj, you'll be giving a class today. So the class will be on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7. You sent the link over today to myself. I'll be forwarding this into the chat for the devotees.
Okay, very good. And we're going for 1 hour?
Yes, Maharaj, until 8 o'clock.
Okay.
Followed by questions to 8:30. Be followed by Nrsimha Dev Press.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Prayena Deva Muniya Swavimukti Kama Maunam Charanti Vijane Naparartha Nishta Naitan Vihaya Kripanan Vimumuksha Eko Nanyam Twadasya Sharanam Pramato Nupashe Om Jnana Timirantasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurn Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kodamahyam Tadati Shapadantikam. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Shaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vashadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is a prayer by Prahlad Maharaj. It's quoted, Srila Prabhupada, well, we'll come to that in a bit, actually. Give me a moment here. Yes. Okay. Oh, I see. Good. Now I see what's there. Srila Prabhupada quoted this verse in one of his one of the introductions to his original Bhagavatam volumes published in Delhi before he came to the West. Prahlad Maharaj had well, we know the history that he was a 5-year-old boy and his father was the greatest atheist. And the Lord finally appeared and killed Hiranyakashipu just to Parajranaya Shadunam Vinashaya Tradushkritam. He appears for two purposes. One is to vanquish the demons, but more importantly, to bless the devotees. So the Lord came to finally appearing as Lord Nrsimhadev, half man and half lion. But he was ferociously angry. He was ferociously angry. He could not be pacified by anyone. Lord Brahma, the demigods all offered beautiful Sanskrit prayers to glorify the Lord. Lakshmi Devi tried to pacify the Lord, but the Lord could not be placated, could not be pacified. He was roaring and furious. Prabhupada mentioned one devotee, Rupanuga Prabhu, wrote to Srila Prabhupada and mentioned that, Prabhupada, you've sometimes said that a hint for how to deal with lusty desires is that when you have lusty desires, you can think of Krishna and the gopis, because that will purify the heart. So is there a similar hint for dealing with anger? And Prabhupada said, yes, that when you're angry, you can think of Lord Nrsimhadev, because you're only a little bit angry, but he is unlimitedly angry. So by thinking of Lord Nrsimhadev, again, the heart becomes purified. So he was unlimitedly angry, but Brahma pushed forward Prahlad Maharaj. The Lord has come on your account, so you try to satisfy him. Brahma was compromised. He'd offered Hiranyakashipu those benedictions that turned out to be so troublesome. So the Lord was not accepting his prayers, no one's prayers. So you please try to satisfy the Lord. So Prahlad Maharaj thought that how can I satisfy the Lord? All of these great demigods have tried, and who am I? I'm just a demon. So what can I? He didn't think that, yeah, now I'll show my stuff. He thought that I'm just a demon. How could I do anything? But then he remembered that there was a crocodile who was being, an elephant who was being attacked by a crocodile in the water. And the crocodile prayed to Krishna and was saved. So Prahlad thought, well, he wasn't even a human being, and still the Lord bestowed his mercy on the elephant. So at least I'm a human being, let me try. So then he offered these deep and instructive prayers to Lord Nrsimhadev, which are found in this chapter, chapter 9. So now we come to this verse. My dear Lord Nrsimhadev, I see that there are many saintly persons indeed, but they are interested only in their own deliverance, not caring for the big cities and towns. They go to the Himalayas or the forest to meditate with vows of silence, Mauna Vrata. They are not interested in delivering others. As for me, however, I do not wish to be liberated alone, leaving aside all these poor fools and rascals. I know that without Krishna consciousness, without taking shelter of your lotus feet, one cannot be happy. Therefore, I wish to bring them back to shelter at your lotus feet. Prabhupada comments, this is the decision of the Vaishnava, the pure devotee of the Lord. He himself has no problems, even if he has to stay in this material world, because his only business is to remain in Krishna consciousness. The Krishna conscious person can go even to hell and still be happy. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj said, Naivod Vijay para Durachaya Vaitaranya, O best of the great personalities, I'm not at all afraid of material existence. The pure devotee is never unhappy in any condition of life. This is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam, Narayana para sarve nakutaschana bibyati, svargapa varga narakeshvapi tulyarta darshana. Yes. Devotees solely engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, never fear any condition of life. For them, the heavenly planets, liberation, and the hellish planets are all the same, for such devotees are interested only in the service of the Lord. For a devotee, being situated in the heavenly planets and being in the hellish planets are equal. For a devotee lives neither in heaven nor in hell, but with Krishna, spiritual world. The secret of success, you might want to mute your microphone there, Prabhuji. The secret of success for the devotee is not understood by the karmis and gyanis. Karmis, therefore, try to be happy by material adjustment, and gyanis want to be happy by becoming one with the Supreme. The devotee has no such interest. He's not interested in so-called meditation in the Himalayas or the forest. Rather, his interest is in the busiest part of the world, where he teaches people Krishna consciousness. The Prabhupada, in his preface to the second canto, to the second volume of the Srimad Bhagavatam in Delhi, wrote, even though we are not in the Himalayas, even though we talk of business, even though we deal in rupees and new paisa, still, simply because we are 100% servants of the Lord and are engaged in the service of broadcasting the message of his glories, certainly we shall transcend and get through the invincible impasse of Maya and reach the effulgent kingdom of God to render him face-to-face eternal service in full bliss and knowledge. We are confident of this factual position, and we may also assure to our numerous readers that they will also achieve the same result simply by hearing the glories of the Lord. Jannama Shruti Matrena Puman Bhavati Nirmala. The meaning is that just by chanting his holy name or by hearing his holy name, one becomes purified and freed from all material.
One is controversial, so it's Jayadvaita, Swami from the Disregard.
Okay, you're quiet now. As we belong to the chain of disciplic succession from Prahlad Maharaj, we may try to follow his footprints. He said before his Lord Nrsimha as follows, and then Prabhupada quotes this verse, Prayena Deva Muniya. My Lord, generally all the munis, the saints and philosophers, are interested in their personal salvation. They are mostly silent and travel in lonely places without any desire for others' benefit. But I am not like them. I do not wish to go to the kingdom of God alone, leaving these poor misguided people in general who have no other alternative than to surrender unto you. And this I see by my practical experience. We are more interested, therefore, in the mission of reclaiming the conditioned souls for the kingdom of God by all means than to seek our personal salvation performed rigidly in a secluded place. So as Srila Prabhupada said, we're following in the disciplic succession from Prahlad Maharaj. The Prahlad Maharaj expresses that, oh Lord, the munis are interested in svavimukti kama, their own perfect liberation from this material world. That's their desire. That's why they're doing their austerities. That's why they're observing vows. That's what their life is all about, how to achieve liberation. And for that, maunam charanti, they silently wander in places that are quiet and secluded, vigine, with no one else, solitary places. Na pararta nishta, they're not interested in helping others. Therefore they're sometimes called, or not sometimes, they're less advanced. Although they're thinking of their perfect liberation, their path to liberation is more difficult because really liberation depends on Mukunda, the mercy of Mukunda, Krishna. And Krishna becomes more pleased when one is concerned not only for one's own welfare, but for the welfare of others. Para arta nishta. When his interest is how to benefit others. Prahlad Maharaj, when offered a benediction by Lord Nrsimhadev, didn't ask anything for himself, but please give liberation to my father. Similarly, he prayed to the Lord that you please help these conditioned souls who are suffering miserably and bring them to your lotus feet. In these prayers, the Prahlad not only glorifies the Lord, but speaks vividly of the sufferings of the conditioned souls. He represents himself as one of those conditioned souls. He sometimes says that I'm full of lusty desires. What is that? Kama? Let's see. Naitan manastava katasu vikuntanata sampriyate drita dushtam asadu tivram amaturam kamaturam harshashoka payashanartam tasmin katam tavagatim vrimashami dina. My dear Lord of the Vaikuntha planets, free from all anxiety, my mind is extremely sinful and lusty, being sometimes so-called happy and so-called distressed. My mind is full of lamentation and fear, and it always seeks more and more money. Thus it has become most polluted and is never satisfied in topics concerning you. I am therefore most fallen and poor. In such a status of life, how shall I be able to discuss your activities? So this is how Prahlad Maharaj represents himself, the dushtam, durita dushtam, polluted by sinful activities, asadhu, dishonest, kama aturam, full of material desires, harsha shoka bhaya artam peshena, agitated by happiness and distress, by fear. So katam tavagatim vimrashami dina. I am dina, very low, fallen. So how will I fix my mind on your transcendental topics? Tavakatasu. Etat mana, na etad mana katasu. this mind that I have is the problem. It's not attached to your transcendental topics. It's attached to, or it's distressed, involved, implicated, covered over by all of these contaminations. In the pure mind, Krishna will be there. In the pure mind, Krishna will always be present. But when the mind is agitated, when the mind is full of material desires, bahirartamanina, when the mind is simply interested in external things, Prahlad says it's polluted and never satisfied in hearing Krishna Katha. It wants something material, something not this same old spiritual stuff. It wants something material and exciting, interesting, attractive. This is the dushtaman, the polluted mind. So Prahlad Maharaj represents himself that way and knows that that the conditioned souls are of a similar nature. This is what they're involved in. And therefore, yan maitunadi grihamedi sukham hitucham kandu yanena karayori vadukadukam. There are only, the big happiness is sex, and the very paltry enjoyment one gets from that, which is more like scratching the two hands, scratching and just increasing the miseries. Tripyanti neha kripana. With this miserly mentality, one is never satisfied. Bahudu kapaja, rather, one expands one's miseries. Kandutivan masijam vishaheta dhiha. Therefore, one has to become dhira, one has to become purified, one has to train the mind. And Prabhupada emphasizes in that previous verse, that was verse 39, that one should simply hear this Maha Mantra. You don't have to move it. One should simply hear this Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam. Kalo nastyeva katir anyata. The chanting is so crucial, and therefore Srila Prabhupada dedicated his life to spreading this chanting of Hare Krishna and all over the world, along with Bhagavad Gita, the science of Srimad Bhagavatam, pure devotional service. This is Prahlad Maharaj's desire. It's said that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very much relished hearing this Prahlad Charitra, the topics about Nrsimhadev and Prahlad. Of course, today is the appearance day of Nrsimhadev, and we're talking all about Prahlad Maharaj. But that's Lord Nrsimhadev. Lord Nrsimhadev means Lord Nrsimhadev with Prahlad. The Krishna is not impersonal. He's always with his devotees. Krishna is with Radharani, with the cowherd boys, with Nanda Yashoda. Similarly, Lord Ramchandra is always with Lakshman, Sita, Hanuman, Bharat. Similarly, Lord Nrsimhadev is particularly in relationship with Prahlad Maharaj, And the Lord takes more pleasure in glorifying the devotee or hearing the devotee glorified than in his own glories. This is the nature of the Lord. He some people ask, sometimes we ask or we wonder, how could Prahlad have suffered through so many things? Because he was a devotee. Why was he made to endure such sufferings? The Pandavas were devotees. Why were they made to endure such tribulations? And many other such examples. But the answer, at least one answer, is that the devotee becomes glorified when there's hardship, when there's difficulty. Then the glories of the devotees shine forth. Also, when there's difficulties, then the minds of the devotees become more intensely fixed on Krishna. When everything's going well, then we can dally about with this or that. But when there's danger, then the mind becomes almost forced, becomes completely fixed, or can become completely fixed on Krishna. One has to take shelter. By the covering potency of Maya, we think, well, things are going pretty well. But when one hears from the acharyas like Prahlad Maharaj, or when one has realization by practical experience, then one can see the real nature of this material world, how much trouble there is, and not only in one lifetime, but in many lifetimes. In another prayer, Prahlad Maharaj says that the living entities are wandering from lifetime to lifetime, eating so many abominable things. If you think about it, like maybe this evening there'll be a little bit of a feast in your home, or from time to time, some nice preparations. But there are so many creatures, they're eating, well, even human beings are eating flesh, and then you get down to the hogs are eating stool, and then the flies that are feasting on pus and you know, all sorts of horrible things. And this is us. We're going from lifetime to lifetime. Sometimes we're eating this, sometimes we're eating that, sometimes eating dog food, sometimes eating dogs. What is that prayer Bhakti-Vinod Thakur says? I've forgotten it just now. But he says that we go from lifetime to lifetime, nana yoni, and eating all rubbish. And that's only one aspect of our life, our eating, although it practically defines us. We are what we eat. But we're going from life to life, eating so many abominable things and doing so many abominable things. At the last Pandal program in Bombay, 1977, Srila Prabhupada's health was very, very poor. He was so weak that he had to be carried onto the stage by 2 disciples. And he was practically, I could say, deposited on the asana. And he asked Bhavananda, I think, to read from Srimad Bhagavatam. The topic was Swavid Varahostra Karai, dogs, hogs, camels, and asses. And Prabhupada was just sitting there, sort of slumped over and hearing. Then he'd hear a little more, hear a little more. He said a word or two. Reading went on. And then he began commenting a little more, then a little more, then a little more. And by the time, after a while, he began speaking powerfully, with full force, glorifying Krishna. The same person whose health was so devastated that he couldn't even walk onto the platform was roaring like Lord Nrsimhadev. And then Prabhupada, at the end, he called for questions. And one sophisticated, smart gentleman asked that so if I become a dog, what will be wrong there? If I become a dog, I'll have the mind of a dog, mentality of a dog. I'll be happy as a dog. So what's wrong? People sometimes ask that question. What's wrong with that? And Prabhupada said, if there's nothing wrong, then it's all right. But we do not think such life is very nice. And everyone cheered. That's the actual fact, that we may say, well, so what if I become a dog? So what if I become a pig? So what if I become this or that? I won't know it. I'll have the mind of that creature. And so I'll be happy, maybe more happy than I am now, because I can freely do so many things. But Prabhupada said, we do not think that kind of life is very nice. Because now we may say that, so what if I become a dog? But if I told you today that right now, you become a dog and you live in a cage, and one of my nephews has a dog, he lives in Manhattan, and so the dog is kept in a little cage in an apartment in Manhattan. How much fun is that, to live as a prisoner? If today I tell you you live like that, you'll say, no, it's horrible. If today I say you become a fly, you become a worm, you'll say, no, it's horrible. But people are so foolish that they make the argument, well, if I become a dog, I won't know that I'm a dog. I'll be happy as a dog. But this is the unfortunate situation of the conditioned souls. Any stupid argument, any foolish engagement to try to enjoy and imagine that they're enjoying. Prabhupada uses, very significantly, says something here, that the karmis try to be happy by material adjustment, and Gyanis by becoming one with the Supreme. Material adjustment, that's the program for the karmis. If I get the right wife or the right husband, the right apartment, the right job, the right education, the right income, the right doctor, the right this, the right that, if I can just adjust things in the right way, a little more of this, a little less of that, a little change this, change that, just adjust the way you adjust your curtains in your kitchen, or the way you adjust anything. A little adjustment, just turn the dial a little up or down, turn the heat up or turn the heat down till you're perfectly comfortable. This is the desire of the karmis. If I'm not happy this way, let me be happy that way. If I'm not happy with this woman, let me be happy with another woman. If I'm not happy on this planet, let me go to that planet, either by some Vedic process or by sending a spacecraft to the moon. Let me be happy this way, let me be happy that way, by some adjustment. In a place where adjustment will never make us happy. Dukhalem shashvatam, anityam sukham lokam. A world that's unhappy? What are all those tranquilizers for? What are all those painkillers for? If this is such a nice world, just to adjust, to adjust, to adjust. But it'll never be adjusted. Chipyanti neha will never be satisfied. And even if we say, no, I've got it right, you may be frustrated, but I've got great job, great family, I'm really happy. But ashashvatam, anityam, you'll get kicked out. And then all of your adjustments will be useless. They'll all be lost. So this is the program of the karmis, trying to adjust in a world in which the right adjustment will never be found and where we can't stay in any case. Or the Gyanis trying to mitigate or put an end to the miseries of material existence by becoming one with the Supreme. That means they've figured out that material happiness doesn't work. They're more advanced. They know no amount of material adjustment will make me happy. Lord Buddha realized that, and others, they realized that. So they may become svavimuktikama, interested in their own liberation. But generally their idea of liberation is also faulty because their experience of material life is so miserable. They want to become one with the Supreme. And that also is not the natural position of the living entity. Avishuddha Bhuteya, their consciousness is not pure. So their position is also pitiful. In third canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, it's said that the materialists are pitiable by the pitiable. The Gyanis are pitiable because they're bereft of the devotional service of Krishna. But they pity the materialists who are even worse off. But a devotee pities them because he's engaged in the service of Krishna and sees they're missing out. They're wasting their life drinking these 2 pots of poison. Karma kanda, jnana kanda. What is that? Vishaya, kevala vishara panda. These are simply 2 poison pots. Material adjustments and the vain attempt to become one with the Supreme. So the pure devotee, by his practical experience, he sees the misery of material life, the emptiness of the path of impersonal speculation, and he has experience of love for Krishna. Prahlad Maharaj, it's described earlier that he was, from the very beginning of his life, he wasn't interested in playing, he wasn't interested in material pursuits. He was absorbed in thinking of Krishna. Sometimes he would laugh, sometimes he would cry, sometimes he would dance, because he was always absorbed. That's Prahlad Maharaj's excellence, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam. Prahlad Maharaj is the exemplar of Smaranam, remembering Krishna, always thinking of Krishna. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu. Of course, that Smaranam becomes possible by hearing. Prahlad Maharaj heard in the womb of his mother from Narad Muni. And otherwise, what will we remember? And especially in material life, we'll become involved in so many material activities, and that's what we'll remember. We'll read so many mundane topics, that's what we'll remember. we'll watch so many YouTube videos. That's what we'll remember. But by hearing, by regular hearing of Krishna Katha, the mind turns toward, becomes purified, and then by hearing and chanting, then remembering Krishna. We don't want to just chant mechanically and hear distractedly. We want to focus our minds in such a way that by hearing and chanting, the mind will remember Krishna. What is that? Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mamanusmarayujacha. Because whatever we think of, finally it comes to the time of death, and our thoughts take us to the next lifetime. Or even in this life, if our thoughts are on material things, our minds will be frustrated. Our activities will be impure. But if we can remember the message of Krishna, the activities of Krishna, the form of Krishna, the qualities of Krishna, the personality of Godhead, then we can become purified, even in this life. Praharshya Shyami Sanata Jivita. Even in this life, we'll become joyful. We'll become joyful, happily situated, simply by remembering Krishna. And in the next life, Tyaktva punarjanma nayati mameti. One goes back home, back to Godhead. This is actually vimukti. This is actually perfect liberation. But the devotee is not interested only in his own perfect liberation. He's so keen to distribute this message to others. That was Prahlad Maharaj's heart. That Nayavod Vijay, what is that? Durachaya Vaitaranyas. Nayavod Vijay Paradurachaya Vaitaranyas. Twadvirya Gayana Mahamrita Manvachita. My dear Lord, I have no anxieties. Udvija means agitation, anxieties, disturbance. For me, there's no disturbance. Naivod Vijay. Parata Durachaya Vaitaranyas. Despite the insurmountable troubles of material existence, Tvad Virya Gayana Mahamrita Magnachitta. By chanting your glories, I can merge in an ocean of nectar. Tvad Virya Gayana, your powerful glories, Virya Gayana. Satam Prasangat, Mama Virya Samvida, Bhavanti Rit Karna Rasayana Kata. By hearing Krishna Katha and the association of devotees, one realizes the potency of Krishna Katha. Taj Joshanada Shuapavarga Vartmani, Shradharatir Bhaktir Nukramishati. Then, step by step, one becomes freed from material existence and advances in faith, attraction, and pure love for Krishna. So Prahlad Maharaj says, I have nothing is there to disturb me because I can simply chant your glories and merge in an ocean of nectar. But sho chaitato vimukha chaitasa indriyartha. I'm simply lamenting for the fools, vimukha, those who've turned away from you, vimukha chaitasa, who've turned their minds away from you. And where are they turning? Indriyartha. They're wasted. They're laboring so hard just to satisfy their senses. Vimukha cetasa, indriyartha. And for that, maya sukhaya, for that false happiness, paramudvato vimudha, these great fools have created a burdensome, troublesome, toxic civilization. That's their situation. So I'm lamenting for them. Atmaupamyena sarvatra samam pashyati yorjana sukham va yadiva dukkam sayogi paramomata. The 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says that this is the sign of a perfect yogi. He sees all others, sukham va yadiva dukkam, in their happiness or in their distress, atmaupamyena, in comparison to himself. He doesn't want to cause trouble to others. He can't live by killing animals, by gross exploitation, because he feels they're like me, atmavat sarvabhuteshu. They're also living beings like me. So how can I bear to see them suffer on my account? Rather, if I've got some good opportunity to get free from material existence, if I'm enjoying, then let others enjoy also. Let them be happy also. Sarve sukhino bhavantu. This is the Krishna consciousness movement. It's not for peaceful living, comfortable living. It's not for, there's one time Prabhupada was talking, he was on his balcony in Mayapur, and they said, they're simply interested in peace. We are not interested in this peace. That means they're interested in their own peace, but they're not interested in others. Prabhupada was sitting happily in Radha Damodar temple. He could have stayed and lived very nicely in Krishna consciousness. But for the benefit of others, he went through so much trouble. He went through so much trouble. So here he writes that this is the business of the Krishna consciousness movement, to spread, to go from door to door, Prabhupada mentions, from place to place, and ask people, please chant Hare Krishna, please take to this Krishna consciousness process. And this is Prahlad Maharaj, that he sees, without taking shelter of your lotus feet, one cannot be happy. What is that? Tvaranya? Naitam vihaya kripanam vimamoksha eko. Nanyam tvarasya. Nothing else will work. Nothing else will work for these brahmata, those who are wandering and wandering and wandering, rotating in lifetime after lifetime. Nothing will work except sharanam, to take shelter. Anupashe, I see it factually. Anupasha, anupashyati. He's one meaning of anu is always. I always see it. I see it all around me at every moment, how people are trying to be happy and failing, how they're making themselves more miserable by their attempts. And another meaning is anupashyati. I see it through Shastra also. Vimudho nanupashyanti pashyanti jnana chakshusha. When we see through the eyes of Shastra, then we will see, but it will be with purified vision, with eyes of knowledge. It's not that the Shastra sees for us and we just quote the books, but one sees through the Shastra, just as Prabhupada says, one sees Krishna through the transparent medium of the spiritual master. So one sees how people are suffering, and one sees that they can be delivered, uplifted by Krishna Kirtan, by Krishna Bhakti. It becomes experience, just as seeing through our spectacles. It's not just theoretical, it's actual seeing, but informed seeing, true seeing. So, Nanyam Twadasya Sharanam Brahmata, I see that they're just wandering and wandering, and that there's nothing else that will work but for them to surrender at your lotus feet. Therefore, Naitan Vihaya Kripanan, these misers, these fools who don't know the benefit, who are squandering the benefit of the human form of life. Vimumukshe. Vimumukshe means I desire that they be liberated. I desire that they be liberated. This is the spirit of Prahlad Maharaj. And therefore he's so dear to Lord Nrsimhadev. Srila Sridhar Swami has composed a poem in which he says that Lord Nrsimhadev is very fearsome for the demons, but he's very kind to the devotees like Prahlad. This is Lord Nrsimhadev. For the demons, he's death personified. And for the devotees, he's the shelter that gives eternal life. Amritam chaiva mrityuscha. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, I am eternal life, and I'm also death. But for the materialists, for the demons, death. And for the devotees, freedom from death. Avidyayam rityum tirtva vidyayam rityamashtate. So the prayena deva muniya svabhimuktikam maunam shravanti vijane na pararta nishta nayatan vihaya kripanan. I can't leave them aside. Nayatan, I can't leave them aside and see them go down as I become liberated. I have to take them with me. This is the spirit of Prahlad. Generally, people just see the difference. Someone's praying to God for liberation, or someone's praying to God just for daily bread. Oh God, give us our daily bread. But the Prahlad Maharaj isn't even praying, oh Lord, please give me liberation. He's not even just praying, oh Lord, give me devotion at your lotus feet. He's praying, please deliver these others also. Don't let them suffer eternally on and on and on in this material world. I'm concerned for them. But this is the heart of Prahlad Maharaj, which melts the heart of Lord Nrsimhadev. Lord Nrsimhadev becomes so, we see that no one could pacify the Lord, the demigods with their beautifully composed Sanskrit prayers, Lakshmi Devi, his own consort. None of them could pacify the Lord. But Prahlad Maharaj with his the spirit of devotion and love and genuine compassion for the fallen souls around him, he invokes the mercy of Lord Nrsimhadev. So I think I'll stop here. And all right, there's some questions in the chat box. What's the difference between the Lord's anger and our anger? What does transcendental anger mean? What's the difference between Lord's anger and our anger? Generally, for our anger has to do with frustration. Kamat krodho vijayate. When our desires are thwarted, then we become angry. Why didn't I get this? Why didn't I get that? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? We become angry. Or we become like the demons. There's no God otherwise. I remember I was on a plane one time, and to shorten the story, this man that I was talking to couldn't accept that there was a God, because his father, or I think it was, had died in such pain and suffered so miserably. How could God allow that? So he was actually angry. God. So when we're frustrated, when things don't go the way we want, whether for ourselves or our family members or our country, we become angry. When we don't get sense gratification. Therefore, so many of the incidents of violence are domestic violence. Overwhelmingly, the murders and all of that. Domestic violence, because I wanted sense gratification and I didn't get it. Then I become angry. You didn't listen to me. You didn't do what I wanted. So it's all in terms of the body. So Lord Nrsimhadev he has no material, namam karmani limpanti name karma pale spriha. Iti mam yobijanati karma birna sabhajate. Bhagavad Gita. There's no action that affects me, and I don't aspire for anything. There's nothing I want. Then there's no frustration and no reason for anger. Those who know this become free from material existence. So the first thing is that Lord Nrsimhadev's anger is not anger over any petty concern like ours. It's not anger due to illusion. I become angry because my illusions are not, the life is not consistent with my illusory identity, my illusory goals. Or because the illusions themselves are so painful that I become angry. Life is frustrating. Lord Nrsimhadev has no such problem. But even if we think, so his anger is anger at the materialists who are torturing his devotees. His anger is a different kind of anger, qualitatively different. But even if we think, no, I'm getting angry and Lord Nrsimhadev is getting angry. You say what you want, but he wants something, I want something. So when he doesn't get it, he becomes angry. When I don't get it, I become angry. So anger is anger. He's angry and I'm angry. There's no difference. But then Prabhupada's point was that even if you think so, he's unlimitedly angry. What is your anger? It's a little puddle of anger. Lord Nrsimhadev's anger is an ocean. You've got a little spark of anger. He's got a forest fire of anger. So Prabhupada said the same thing. You think that Krishna is dancing with young girls, even if you take it as being something like you're dancing with young girls, Krishna's dancing with young girls. So I'm lusty, he's lusty. Prabhupada said, all right, but he's unlimitedly lusty. You want one wife. Krishna has 16,108 wives. So even if you think he's lusty, he's unlimitedly lusty. Anoraniya Mahato Mahiya. We're the smallest of the small. Krishna is the biggest of the big. So our anger is nothing compared to his anger. So that's unlimited anger. Transcendental anger, because it has nothing to do with the modes of material nature. Krishna is not under these modes of material nature. Even the liberated devotee is not under these modes, so certainly Krishna is not. But his anger is a pure expression of the soul. Therefore, we see that even devotees become angry for some on the spiritual platform. That's a different kind of anger. Okay, there's another question here. Let's see. You mentioned how Prahlad prayed and he spoke about the contaminations of the mind. If Prahlad Maharaj is a pure devotee and he doesn't actually have a polluted mind, how does he know what a polluted mind is like? Different answers can be given. One is he sees all around him. He sees his father, simply friends and enemies, simply interested in Hiranya and Kashipu, in gold and sexual enjoyment. He sees a foolish society around him, and he knows that this is their mind. You can tell a person's mind by what he's doing, what he faces the index of mind, activities. A person's activities show his mind. His words let you know what his mind is like. Filthy words, filthy mind. His habits, everything. So Prahlad, anupashyati, what is that? Anupashye. He can see. Anyone can see what polluted minds are there. And on the other side, when he looks within himself, he doesn't see, yes, I'm perfect, I'm pure. That's not how a devotee thinks. A devotee, although he is pure, he thinks of himself as most unqualified. He sees his own faults. He sees his own faults. Just as we amplify the faults of those around us, we see them, with a zoom magnification. But we don't see our own faults. For the zoom is taken away and we see a little. But a devotee, like Prahlad, he looks within himself, and those faults, whatever faults he sees, are amplified. He sees his own faults to be very great, and he hardly sees that others are at fault. That doesn't really help to have all those questions broadcast at once. It's a distraction, actually. If you would, you can either copy and paste them into the chat box or something like that. Otherwise, it doesn't help. Madhavendra Puri was just thinking that if I could taste this sweet rice, this kheer, then I could get an idea of what it's like, and I could offer it to my Gopal. But then he thought that, just see, I'm desiring to taste the food that Krishna hasn't eaten yet. Just see. So devotee, he's always, that's like the cleaning process. A person who's in the mode of ignorance he's living in a, in a, what's the word, a pigsty, and he thinks it's comfortable. The room hasn't been cleaned since the previous yuga and all dirty things. He doesn't notice. But a person who's in the mode of goodness, he's always cleaning. He doesn't think, yes, now everything's perfectly clean. If there's a spot of dirt, he sees it. So the devotee sees his own faults and amplifies those own faults also, or he thinks that they're very great. Okay. What happened to Prahlad Maharaj and Lord Nrsimhadev once Hiranyakashipu was killed? Well, we hear that Prahlad Maharaj, and that comes at the end of this narration, that Lord Nrsimhadev placed him on the throne and had him live for so many years as the ruler. And finally he goes back to Godhead. In the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, when Narad Muni is glorifying Prahlad, Prahlad says, no, practically the Pandavas, they're great. They're always, Krishna's living with them always. He's their friend, their charioteer, their messenger. Krishna's always with the Pandavas. For me, Lord Nrsimha only appeared for just a few moments, and then he disappeared. So it's almost as if it were a dream. In this way, Prahlad Maharaj minimizes his own experience with Prahlad Maharaj, with Lord Nrsimhadev. The Lord only came on account of Narad Muni. It wasn't for me. And he didn't stay. In this way, he's humbly submitting. But it's also a fact that the pastime ends, but still, Smaranam, Prahlad Maharaj is always thinking of Lord Nrsimhadev. And that thinking of Lord Nrsimhadev means always associating with Lord Nrsimhadev. There's no difference between thinking of Krishna and associating with Krishna. When one thinks of Krishna, Krishna is at once there. Even in separation, the gopis were thinking of Krishna, how he used to smile, how he used to play his flute. And by that thinking of Krishna, he was present even more intensely than when he was manifest before their eyes. Why did Prahlad Maharaj ask for forgiveness for his father? Are we not supposed to be detached from family entanglements? This is natural. He saw that, of course, you can say, well, there's so many living entities. This father of mine, he's a so-called father. He's only one. But Prahlad Maharaj, one thing is it's immediate. That's who's there. His father is right before him, torn up on the lap of Lord Nrsimhadev. So why should Prahlad ask about someone else, 800 miles away, when his father is right there? So you came to kill my father. He committed so many atrocities against me. But please forgive him. Just like Ambarish Maharaj, the Sudarshan is attacking Durvasa to kill him because Durvasa offended Ambarish Maharaj. So then Ambarish becomes compassionate. Please, Sudarshan, don't kill this Durvasa. Let him live. Praise to the Lord. Please excuse him. So by the immediate context, not that, but he's my father, he's my father. Sometimes you find that the devotees, they're so much concerned how their brother can become Krishna conscious, how their father and mother can become Krishna conscious. And beyond that, it doesn't go. Others, they may or may not become Krishna conscious, but my father, my mother, my wife, my husband. So again, partly that's the immediate context, naturally. Even Gopinath-acharya, the brother-in-law of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he was always trying to make Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya devotee because that's who was there. There was some connection. So since he was connected, he prayed. He was always trying, he prayed to Krishna, and he was trying by argument, by this way, that way, how to get this dry scholar to become a devotee. Prabhupada, while traveling in the world, he was praying for the Americans, for the Australians, for the Africans. Those were the people he was connected with. It's not just abstract. Suridam Sarvabhutanam, the well-wisher of all living entities. That's a devotee. But how you can't even think of all living entities. If we say a devotee is the well-wisher of all living entities, I can't even think of all living. I can't even think of, it's hard to think of more than 10 at once. All living entities. I can't even imagine all living entities. I can't even imagine all the human beings. But one by one, by one, by one. And not that I'm Surada Sarvadehinam, I'm friendly toward all living beings, but mean to the people who are near me. I have a sort of abstract philosophical understanding that I should be friendly toward all living beings, but the ones who are near to me, I'll treat with disregard. Naturally, those who are closest to us, we want to see them become Krishna conscious. In one sense, that's the way to spread the Krishna consciousness movement. How are you going to spread the Krishna consciousness movement all over the world to all living entities? You can't even think of them all. You can't go to them all. It's just an abstract sentiment. But can I speak about Krishna to my family members? Can I speak about Krishna to my neighbors? Can I speak to about Krishna to my co-workers? Can I speak to Krishna about others who are near me? Can I make some plan how to bring them to Krishna consciousness? The people in my community, the people who are in some relationship to me, can I, one way or another, can I try to make them Krishna conscious? Now that's something I can think about. You're there in Birmingham, you're not thinking how to make the people of New York City Krishna conscious, although there's lots more people in New York than there are in Birmingham. But you're not thinking how to make the New Yorkers Krishna conscious. Thinking, how can somebody in Birmingham become a devotee? That's natural, they're nearby. So Prahlad Maharaj, there's his father who's tortured him so grievously. Lord Nrsimha has been so angry that he's torn him apart. So naturally Prahlad is thinking, no, please give him liberation. Is that okay? I understand that Prahlad Maharaj requested that his father's soul be liberated. Why then did the Lord not grant the wish of his devotee? As we understand that due to the curse of the Kumaras on Jaya and Vijay, Hiranyakashipu underwent rebirth in Treta and Dwapara Yuga. Was Prahlad Maharaj aware of this? What he was aware of, you'd have to ask him when you meet him. But the wish was granted. Prahlad Maharaj didn't say immediately, but you give him liberation. And actually, his father was already as good as liberated. He's just playing the part of a demon, as someone plays Hamlet or King Lear or somebody else on stage. It's a drama only. So actually, Jai and Vijay are Lord Krishna's eternal associates. But for the sake of the drama, they take this role. So there was no loss for Jai and Vijay or Hiranyakashipu. Their position is exceptionally fortunate. When it is said that 21 generations of your forefathers go back to Godhead, does it mean the spiritual world or a chance to be a devotee in their next life? Well, to liberated means that you actually go to the spiritual world. That's the meaning. Everyone has a chance to be a devotee in the next life. But liberated means freed from sinful reactions, and therefore freed from the obligation to continue suffering in the cycle of material existence. Liberated means liberated. It's not just a chance to be liberated. Are there other questions? And live questions are all right too. If you want to unmute your microphone and ask a question, you are welcome. Everyone's fasting. No one has any energy to ask any questions.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Who's that?
It's Vishal. I was hosting the actual session, Maharaj. There's one last question that a devotee asked. I'd like to ask. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's in the chat box, or is it?
Yes, Maharaj. It starts off as, are we lacking?
Are we lacking? Did I skip over it, or is it at the end?
It's more towards the end, Maharaj.
Well,
it's just after the previous question.
Well, maybe you can tell me because I don't see it. What is that question?
Are we lacking in our sadhana or faith if we are grateful, devoted, and remember the Lord more when everything is perfect in our lives, but we do not remember Him much when things go wrong? Is it due to our conditioning that we think we have to solve our problems ourselves? Even though we know the Lord is the supreme controller, how do we work on it, please?
Yes, well, you've got it, certainly. There's Prabhupada quotes a Hindi couplet to the effect that when things are going good, everybody worships the Lord. When things are going bad, rather, everyone worships the Lord. Oh Lord, oh Lord. And then when things are good again, everybody forgets the Lord. There's a Hindi couplet to that effect. That's a fact. Therefore, in the Bible, it said, better the house of mourning than the house of feasting. Because the living will take it to heart. And there's that expression also, smashan vairagya. When there's a funeral, when there's a, then we become Krishna conscious. But then, because we're involved in sense gratification, we become distracted. We become distracted. Therefore, practice is needed. Constant chanting, Hare Nam, Anukirtanam, chanting on and on. The association of devotees is needed. Not that we think, yeah, I'm doing good. I basically, I've got my regular program, I'm fine. There's and we sort of have a complacent pedestrian view of Krishna consciousness. There needs to be a greater urgency. Therefore, sometimes Krishna puts the devotee in difficulty deliberately so that he's forced to rise to the occasion. Yasyaham anugranami parishe taddanamshanai. Krishna takes away his money. Krishna ruins him so that he is forced to surrender. And that makes his life successful. So yes, we should always think that we're deficient, and not just as a formality. Yes, I know I'm supposed to think that I'm deficient. We should recognize that we're deficient. Prahlad Maharaj is praying that my mind is going this way and that way, happiness and distress, so many lusty thoughts, so many other contaminations. Therefore, we have to continue it very seriously. And again, by working for the benefit of others, we ourselves become purified. Krishna becomes more pleased. And when Krishna is pleased, then greater progress. Is that okay?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, just wanted to ask the question. So the devotee is asking, so the situation is actually the opposite. So when all is well, the sadhana is strong, but when there are issues, there's more time spent solving the issue, and then the sadhana is affected because of that.
Yeah. Either way, if I'm complacent when things are going well, or if I'm, exasperated and strung out when things are going badly, if I'm forgetting Krishna on one side or the other side, I have to become more Krishna conscious. Actually, if there's difficult situations, what is that? Kaviraj Maharaj says, Krishnadas Kaviraj writes that when, for the person who remembers Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the difficult things become very easy. And for one who forgets Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, even the easy things become difficult. So Prabhupada sometimes, famously, he used to ask, so what is the difficulty? Or is there any difficulty? And Shrutikirti is given that title. What is the difficulty? Because if we remember Krishna, or usually as soon as Prabhupada would ask the question, you try to remember all the difficulties that you were going to talk to him about, and they just disappeared. They you worked them out just like that. This was not a very big thing. So either way, this remembering Krishna, Prahlad Maharaj is remembering Krishna, and then the difficulty things become easy by remembering Krishna or Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Is that okay?
Thank you, Maharaj. There's a few other questions that have just been posted closer to the bottom. So there's one by Nityananda Prabhu. In Vaikuntha, on the planet of Lord Nrsimhadev, does Lord have a Vishnu form, or has his form of Nrsimha?
I forget. Prabhupada answered that question, but I forget the answer. Sorry.
It's okay. Another question from Gurudas Prabhu. So is Nrsimhadev more of a specialist in removing anarthas than any other avatars, and how is he removing them?
Is he more of a specialist in removing anarthas? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu removes all anarthas. Krishna removes all anarthas. How is he removing them? Of course, he's removing Hiranyakashipu's anarthas by killing him. That's purifying, just as Putana became freed from anarthas by being killed by the Lord, or Shishupal, or any other such demons. And he's purifying all the others by exhibiting his glories, so that by hearing the glories of the Lord, remembering the glories of the Lord, chanting the glories of the Lord, one becomes freed from anarthas. So that's there. And therefore this Adbhuta Shringam, this unnatural, wonderful form of Lord Nrsimha. Tabakara Kamala Bare Nakam Adbhuta Shringam. It's unnatural because the lotus flower is very soft. The lotus flower is very soft, but and Lord Nrsimhadev's hands are like a lotus. He's putting his hand on Prahlad Maharaj's head, so it's like a lotus. But Adbhuta Tavakara Kamala Pare Nakam Adbhuta. But it's unnatural that in the lotus there are sharp nails. Lord Nrsimhadev in his lotus hands has sharp nails just to kill Hiranyakashipu. Keshavadrita, Narahari Rupa, Jayadvaita. So by remembering Krishna in any one of his forms, one becomes freed from anarthas. But we don't think, well, actually by thinking of Krishna in any old form, but the same thing, whichever form we're hearing about. When we're hearing about Lord Nrsimhadev, we don't think, well, yeah, this will purify my heart, but I'd really rather be hearing Gopi Gita. While hearing Ram Katha, we don't think, it's all right, but I really should want to hear about something else. When Lord Chaitanya was hearing Nrsimhadev Katha, he was absorbed in Nrsimha Katha. One time he was remembering Nrsimhadev, he became so absorbed, he took the mood of Lord Nrsimhadev. He was going around and, I'm going to kill the demons. And the people were afraid. He was took up such a fierce mood because he became absorbed. So it's not that, like a philosophical thing, well, is this form better, is that form better? But the form that presents us, in which the Lord presents himself, is wonderful. Any form in which he presents himself is wonderful. When he appears as Nrsimhadev, it's wonderful. When he appears as Lord Ramchandra, it's wonderful. When he appears as a fish, when he appears as a tortoise, when he appears as Vamandev, every form that the Lord appears in is wonderful, and therefore the devotee becomes absorbed in thinking of appreciating that wonderful form. If you go to Tirupati, you see the Lord as Balaji, you become so impressed by seeing Balaji. Not that you think about Srinathji or Radha Govinda. Naturally, of course you can, because Lord Nrsimhadev is also Radha Govinda. So by reference to the context, but naturally your mind tends to focus on how great the Lord is in that form, or how attractive he is in that form. Is that okay?
Thank you, Maharaj. Maharaj, if I could just have one question on, you just said about hearing and chanting, but hearing and chanting can also water the weeds as well, right? Is that?
Yes, when we hear and chant, then we become a little purified. We make advancement. We become freed from so many unwanted things in the heart. But then the weeds can take advantage. What are those weeds? Especially pride. One starts to think that I'm really advanced. These fools, they don't know what they're doing, but they're doing everything wrong. They're doing it backwards. They're not following the right way. They're not doing this, they're not doing that. That means knocking them so that I can think more highly of myself. And yesterday, Gauranga Prabhu gave class from wherever he was for devotees in America. And he was saying essentially that this is what Hiranyakashipu is all about. He's all about himself and how great he is. Prahlad is humble and meek and devoted to the Lord. And Prahlad and Nrsimha is all false ego and false pride and his own power. So even as we chant and hear, the mind will try to make it, yes, you're a great devotee. Yes, you're the expert. Yes, you're the authority. Yes, you're this, you're this, you're this. And then we become proud, puffed up, and then we fall down. What is that? Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. So pride, crookedness, we start to be duplicitous with others. There are many in Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is discussed in regard to the Gundicha Marjana pastime, how one has to clean and clean and clean and clean. Otherwise, the unwanted plants, the weeds, which can look just like the real plant. I was offering some flowers to my deities yesterday, and I had some Tulsi, and I had some leaves that had come with the flowers that I picked, and it was a little hard to tell. Is this a Tulsi leaf, or is this a leaf from the tree? So the weeds can look like the Bhakti-Lata, like the creeper of devotional service. So therefore one has to be vigilant. As a gardener has to be vigilant. Pull up the weeds, not let them grow, not let them become thick. And like these little weeds, when they grow, you pick them up. It's just like, boom, pick them up and throw them away. But when they become deep-rooted, then it's a bigger project. So constant vigilance and constant association and a humble mood. In a humble mood, we can take criticism. Yes, Prabhu, did you notice that you're doing this? Oh, I didn't notice. And in a puffed up mood, what are you talking about? You know, get off it. You're just, you're always criticizing. The heart of a devotee is very humble and soft. In commenting on Shringi, no. Well, that was Shringi's problem. He was puffed up son of a Brahmin. But while talking about Sudama Brahmana, Prabhupada talked about how he was such a gentle Brahmin. And Prabhupada said that's the quality of a Brahmin. He's gentle. He's not hard. He's not arrogant. He's gentle. So what is that? Blessed are the meek in heart, for they shall know the kingdom of God, or something like that. Mm. But that's the idea, that with a humble heart, one can advance in Krishna consciousness. One can see one's own faults. And one can capture the mercy of Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you. Now you have a schedule. I don't mind talking, but do you want to start?
Hare Krishna. On the behalf of ISKCON Birmingham and the congregation in Leicester, we'd like to thank you for your wonderful association. I was just actually thinking how just by a Vaishnava's behavior, we can actually learn so much. You are the most senior on this platform of Zoom call this evening, but just before commencing the class, you were actually asking for instructions with such humility. So thank you for your wonderful example. To say that the greatest instruction one can give is their own example. So thank you for this. And just to summarize your class, Maharaj, if you allow me to, just a few points. Is that okay?
Yeah, let's see how you do.
So Maharaj at the beginning was speaking about how when one becomes angry, we can think about the Lord who is unlimitedly angry. And by remembering Lord Nrsimha, we can become purified. Maharaj was also speaking how Krishna is most pleased when we think about the welfare of others. And later on, Maharaj spoke about the glories of Srila Prabhupada, how Prabhupada was staying at the Radha Damodar temple so peacefully, but he was thinking that how can he spread the message of his spiritual teacher, Bhakti-Santa Saraswati Thakur, and thinking of the welfare of others with such compassion. Later, Maharaj also shared a very nice point about how, why is it that Prahlad Maharaj suffered so much, even the Pandavas? What is our understanding from this? So we can see that when devotees go through such difficulties, that their glories are manifested even more. But also when we go through such troubles and challenges, it allows our minds to be fixed on Krishna. So these are just a few thoughts that I had from Maharaj's class. They say that knowledge without reflection is like eating without digesting. So if a few devotees just now, if it's okay, if we have His Grace Pradumna Prabhu to share a few words, and then maybe His Grace Nitya Kirtan Prabhu can share a few realizations. So Pradumna Prabhu, if you'd like to share a few words, please, we'd be very grateful if you could kindly unmute yourself. Vishal Prabhu, are you able to unmute? Well, thank you.
Hare Krishna, my friend Prabhu. Yes, I've
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, sorry, this is Nimai. Pradyumna's he's just stepped out of the room. Yeah, so he won't be speaking right now, but he's been participating in the class.
Would you like to share a few words, Mataji?
Sorry?
Would you like to share a few words?
No, that's fine, thank you. I'm happy to hear. Thank you.
No worries. His Grace Nitya Kirtan Prabhu, if you'd like to share a few words on the behalf of the congregation in Birmingham, we'd be ever so grateful. Nitya Kirtan Prabhu, for those who don't know, is another wonderful Vaishnava in our community who's helping preach the glories of Guru and Gauranga with so much external preaching. So Prabhu, would you like to share a few words, please?
Hare Krishna is in company. He's also not in the room at the moment, so sorry. It's wonderful.
We're going to go through these names one by one and find out that nobody's there.
He's either not here or he's too shy to talk on the call.
I think they found out that I was going to ask them some questions. No problem. What we'll do now is, if it's okay, Maharaj, would you like to lead us in the Shingadev prayers?
Me?
If you'd like to.
I'm not the best Kirtaniya.
Okay, so what we can do is that we'll ask Her Grace Kishori Mataji and His Grace Virgil Prabhu to lead us in the Nrsimha prayers. These are new,
That sounds better.
wonderful devotees. I know they've recently engaged in wonderful service to the holy name and also supporting the Food for All project in Coventry. So we leave it over to you guys. Hare Krishna, Gauranga.
Okay, I think we've been unmuted. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
We were looking forward to hearing you sing, Maharaj. You disappoint us, so you'll have to settle for us. So nice to hear from you. Thank you.
Your kindness. Thank you, Maji.
So we're joined today by our boys. So, Jai Shri Nrsimha Bhagavan Ki Jai. We've got our home deity behind us. Namaste Nrsimhaya. Namaste
Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Sorry about the disturbance.
No disturbance. So nice.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
His Grace Paduna Prabhu is here. The Paduna Prabhu, you'd like to share a few words? I believe you're back.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, everyone. Jai Guru Maharaj, thank you so much for your time today in sharing this beautiful verse, beautiful prayer by Prahlad Maharaj. And I'd like to thank both the Birmingham and the Leicester devotees. I think it's the first time we've come together to deliver a festival. And I think it worked. So thank you, Vishal, for hosting us and arranging things, and for Rasaraj Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Looks like we're done, right?
Hare Krishna. So I just want to say a few thank yous. So just want to say a huge thank you for His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami, who's taken his time out to be with us today and giving us such an amazing class. So thank you so much, Maharaj, for that.
Thank you for engaging me. This is not time out. This is what time is meant for.
Thank you so much,
Your
Maharaj.
association, and it's good for me.
I would also like to thank Shyam Prabhu and Gopi Bhav Mataji for conducting and organizing the Nrsimha Yagya that we had earlier. I'd also like to thank the Kirtaniers, where we had amazing Kirtans sung by Narayan Kesha Prabhu, Radharani Mataji, Ananda Kesha Prabhu, Nitai Kirtan Prabhu. Also a big thank you to Kishori Mataji and Birju Prabhu and family for singing the Nrsimha prayers. As Pradyumna Prabhu said, that this was a joint program on Leicester and ISKCON Birmingham. So I want to thank everyone from the Midlands and all the organisers as well. Pradyumna Prabhu, Mai Pramada Prabhu, Vishal Prabhu, and Rasaraj Prabhu. And everyone who has joined us today. So thank you so much. Hare Krishna.